The future of the MCU will probably depend on the success of Avengers Doomsday. Call me cynical, but I don't think it's gonna make it. And I don't want the Marvel Legends series to die with it. Legends needs to adapt to survive, and I firmly believe that requires divesting itself of the MCU. Not just so comic branded figures can live on, but so movie figures can stop being held back. I'm Glenn, and this is Super Articulated. Ironically, the MCU once saved Marvel Legends from cancellation. Following the success of 2012's The Avengers, Hasbro consolidated all its 6-inch action figure movie lines under the then middling Marvel Legends brand. Collectors were now required to buy both movie and comic figures to build their favorite BAFs, a move that collectors hated, and consequently exploded Legends in popularity, leading to a 5-ish year golden age. Then, duped by Marvel's overconfidence, Hasbro briefly reversed that decision when they released the MCU Gilgamesh Wave in 2021. Now, these are far from bad figures, but audiences for Eternals were aggressively whelmed by the movie. I bet you didn't even remember Gilgamesh was the character's name, or you thought that was Wong, you bigot. Slaps camera. So, without a few comic-based anchor figures to ensure at least a few sold through, the Eternals wave gathered dust on store shelves. It didn't even matter that they had reversed course by the No Way Home wave. Retailers stopped ordering those core BAF waves of Marvel Legends. Now, Legends needs to be saved from the MCU. I think even Hasbro would agree. They haven't released a mixed wave of movie and comic figures since 2023, that rhymed. It feels like they only support recent releases to meet contractual obligations, unless the film is a guaranteed hit. And we've gotten to the point where an Avengers movie, directed by the Russo brothers and starring Robert Downey Jr., is not a guaranteed hit. The MCU has become an unstable brand to base the future of a long-running and beloved toy line on. If I were a marketing executive at Hasbro, Okay, alright. Happy? If I were a marketing executive at Hasbro, I would say Marvel Legends should stop releasing movie figures, and instead spin them off into their own distinct brand. For the purposes of this video, let's call it the Marvel Studios series. Not only so the Marvel Legends series can continue after the eventual death of the MCU, but to make up for a massive amount of lost potential. Potential based on ideas Hasbro themselves have executed. Let me give you some examples. 2018 was the 10-year anniversary of the MCU, and every year since I've wondered why that sub-brand didn't stick around. Well, there was an MCU movie in 2009, but 2020 was the 10-year anniversary of Iron Man 2, 2021 Thor and Captain America. 2025 is the anniversary of Avengers Age of Ultron and Ant-Man. I feel like not having product to support those events is a huge missed opportunity, damn near violating the Marvel license. What a perfect chance to update older figures with inkjet prints, pinless limbs, and modern articulation, or give frequently requested characters a new chance at plastic life. Though now might be a little bit of an awkward time to jump in. But good news, we only have to wait less than 3 years for the 20th anniversary of the MCU. And by then, Iron Man will be considered retro. Isn't that great? Despite my feelings towards Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, they reinforce an idea that the last Spider-Man and Deadpool movies introduced, that all pre-Iron Man films are still based in the MCU. Sony's Spider-Man, Fox's X-Men, Howard the Duck, Doctor Strange, Nick Fury, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Avengers, the director's cut of Daredevil 2003 featuring Coolio, RIP, Blade, the series, or the upcoming Women's Super League. A Marvel Studios series doesn't have to solely focus on the next big Marvel project. It can explore Marvel's rich 80-year cinematic history. Wouldn't a legacy collection have been the perfect place for figures like Toei or Nicholas Hammond's Spider-Man? In fact, doesn't the VHS packaging used for the X-Men and Spider-Man animated series figures make way more sense here? Just imagine Roger Corman's Fantastic Four complete with bootleg VHS boxes, or Lou Ferrigno's Hulk in a deluxe 3/4-inch pneumatic clamshell, with swappable green moccasins. Designs for the latest movie, not finalized by the time merch needs to go into production, turn a scheduling conflict into a feature, throwing Wave 1 into a concept art wave and saving these screen-accurate designs for the Disney Plus debut or something. Celebrate basing figures on concept art instead of being ashamed of it. And why not take a page from the Black series to create figures based on legacy concept art? Take the coolest, most toyetic designs that never made it onto the big screen and put them in the Marvel Studios series. Hey, they could even include original ideas from the creative team, Hasbro's personal what if, without the creative constraints of being a connected storyline. Now, separating movie and comic figures into distinct brands both fails to address a few problems and create some. Far more than I can account for, but I can think of at least 3 big ones. 1. Retailers tend not to order merchandise without a direct media tie-in. Comic characters that don't neatly fit under the evergreen brands of the Avengers, X-Men, and Spider-Man might get left behind. 2. Marvel's brand managers might be none too happy about the merchandise for their next MCU film being labeled as concept art. And 3. Where does the budget come from? As a humble Hasbro marketing executive, indicated by my crown, I have some potential solutions. 1. Let's say Hasbro is gearing up to sell Fantastic Four First Steps figures to Target. They have a lineup of movie figures under the Marvel Studios series, but Hasbro also wants to sell comic waves. Why not create some synergy between the two brands with an assortment of comic figures that thematically support the movie? For example, while the team's costumes are heavily inspired by the 80s John Byrne color scheme, the time period and aesthetic is based in the 60s, when the Fantastic Four was first publicized. The Legends wave could thematically support the studio's wave and avoid self-competition by releasing the titular team in their first appearance 1960s costumes. Solution 2. In the same vein, let's say the Hasbro team got the 411 that Impossible Man was going to be a major player in the movie, but that he's a 100% CGI character and his design won't be finalized by the time molds for the figure need to be made. The Marvel Studios series team could base their design off outdated concept art, or they could simply release a comic-based version, ensuring an Impossible Man on store shelves, and most importantly, without a tremendous amount of money and development time being wasted on inaccurate designs. That way, retailers get more product to support the popular IP, and collectors are still, let's say, psychologically encouraged to collect both lines but aren't forced to. Solution 3. Where does the money to pay for these new ideas come from? How do we keep these figures at the $25 price point for the long haul? I don't know. But what about the collect and erect system I mentioned in my last video, link in the description? Not necessarily as a way to save money, but potentially increase sales. Let's say the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness wave used this marketing strategy. Instead of including an alternate expression in a desperate attempt to tie two characters together, a figure like Baron Mordo could have come with an updated photoreal portrait to replace the original Dormammu wave head, increasing the perceived value of both figures while rewarding longtime collectors. If the MCU is an interconnected universe, why can't the toys be too? Okay, let me be real here for a second. I don't collect movie figures. The reason I'm pitching these ideas is so that whenever the next Marvel movie bombs and the toys don't sell, an executive doesn't look at their spreadsheet and see the words Marvel Legends next to big red numbers. At the same time, I genuinely think the MCU brand hasn't reached its full potential. Movie figures could easily expand into those anniversary, retro, and concept art programs, if only to create insulation against how well the next Eternals movie performs at the box office.
Hi. Glen stuck some Vaquero in the cabinet. Fucker drew his first breath and immediately started shooting at me. Like, subscribe, whatever. More importantly, let Glen know how much you hate his stupid ideas, or feel free to leave any thoughts of your own. That was 6, right? Hey, Greenhorn!
In conclusion, I've been collecting this line for the better part of 23 years. I want to keep collecting until I'm harvested for my ass sweat in the Water Wars. I believe spinning off movie figures into their own distinct brand can ensure the survival of the Marvel Legends series beyond the death of the MCU. But what's important is that a distinction is made. So the next time Feige decides to revolve the MCU around an actor who turns out to be a collection of roaches in a rubber suit, the Marvel Legends brand can still exist. But this is just the tip of the dead, frozen infant celestial. It's going to take a lot more than the bisection of movie figures to restore Marvel Legends to its former glory. In the meantime, watch out for the next video in this series where I argue why the super articulated articulation scheme isn't actually so super. I'm Glenn, and this is Super Articulated. Ready up. Oh, don't. You beat the mic. How'd you know that was recording?
More important.
Shut up, I hear you laughing. If I can hear you, the mic can hear you, you fuck.